Hi, I'm Terry Ammerman with the Terry Ammerman Group. I am an expert in communications training and coaching, and I have traveled from Saudi Arabia to Iceland doing this training. And today I want to talk about how to make an effective presentation. Now, I'm just going to talk to you about some of the preparation part because we do an all-day training on how to be an effective presenter, and I can't cover all of that here, but I can get you started. So, when you are asked to make a presentation to a group of people, one of the first things you want to do is understand who your audience is. So we again do presentations training with clients all over the world, and we will work with everyone from an intern. I'm working with one of my client companies to train a group of interns in presenting, all the way to the highest level, the CEO. We've worked with the CEO and his or her team when they're preparing for analyst presentations or board presentations. And so many of them will miss this step in presenting. I've said in my videos before that we work with probably 80% of my client base of people I work with is engineers. And most of them, not all of them, but most of them are male. So I would say 80% engineers, and 80% of those engineers are male. And so they are fixers of the problem, and they can very easily get into the weeds. So if you are one of those highly technical people, if you're a woman who's an engineer, and you want to deliver a presentation that's effective and gets done what you want to get done, then you want to make sure that you are not giving your audience more information than they need. So, one of the first questions you're going to ask yourself is, how much time do I have? So, in most companies, as well as at a conference or any outside event, you're going to be given a time frame, and it's really important for you to stay within that time frame. I was working with someone recently, and it was two people who were co-presenting together on a panel, and they as a team were given 10 minutes. And the first person I worked with had about 5 minutes of a presentation, and then the second person said he had an 18-minute presentation. Well, there's going to be a lot of editing done to take an 18-minute presentation to a 5-minute presentation. And I would also say probably some rewriting, because you can't just cut that much out without putting it in the right perspective. So we worked on that. And one of the first questions that I asked him was, what does your audience need to know about this particular topic? This company, the people I worked with were working on how they recreated a software application using several different platforms that they had available to them. And so you can imagine that someone who's a software expert could get deeply into all the different things they did and how they did them. But in a 5-minute presentation that's part of a panel discussion, the reality is he just can't go into that much depth. So we talked about it. What does your audience need to hear from you? And what we clarified in that discussion was they need to hear that they can do this too. Maybe not with the exact platforms that you used, but with similar ones that they might have available. So we wanted to make sure that those words were said. that when this gentleman was going out to do his presentation, that he was saying, let me tell you how we solved this problem with what we had available, but you could solve your problem as well with what you had available. So understanding very clearly what he wanted to get done in this presentation within the time frame he was allotted was so important and critically important before he ever wrote anything down on paper or created slides. So I could talk forever and ever and ever, amen, about PowerPoint slides and how they are typically copy heavy and have too many graphs on them. I won't get into that right now, but what I will say is the number one thing you want to ask yourself before you're making a presentation is, who's my audience? Is your audience a group of people at a conference? Are they a group of people at a luncheon? Are they people in your online community and you're an influencer and you're sharing information with them? Who is your audience and what level are they at in their knowledge compared to the level you're at? Most likely you are way above them in your level of expertise, in your level of knowledge, if you're speaking to them on this topic. And you want to be very careful that you don't use phrases or acronyms that your audience may not understand. So how do you do that? You want to really think about who your audience is. This doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the level of education that they're at. It has to do with the level of knowledge about your particular topic that they have. So, for example, if you are in a situation where you're presenting to other people within your own company and they don't have the level of knowledge that you have, even though you're both working for the same company, or you're all rather working for the same company, make sure that you are not talking from what I refer to as an internal perspective. Make sure that the words that you've chosen and the way you're talking about this is from their perspective. What do they need to hear from you so that they do with this information what you want them to do with it? That's where influence and persuasion comes in. So ask yourself first and foremost, what do you want your audience to do with this information? Do you want them, if you're an influencer, do you want them to improve their relationships? Do you want them to be better at something that you might be teaching them about? Make it real clear in your own mind what you're wanting to accomplish in this presentation before you ever write anything down or make a PowerPoint slide. When you do that, you're going to be much better at talking on the level of the people you're wanting to reach. So if you are wanting to reach people you can help, let's say you're an online influencer in a spiritual business and you want to reach out to a certain group of people. Well, but they might be at a lower level in knowledge of this topic than you, then be very careful that you're not using phrases or language that they may be unfamiliar with, because if you are, you're not going to connect with them the way you want to. When you think about, for example, a newscaster or a reporter, my colleague is a former reporter and newscaster, and he's so valuable in the training that we do, whether we're doing presentations training or media training or any other type of training. And the reason he's so valuable is he always had to take a story that he created, or that he reported on, I should say, and condense it into about a minute and a half story that wound up on, let's say, the 6 o'clock news. You're going to want to do that as well when you're preparing your presentation so that you're condensing the most important information into the time you've had allotted to you. So, what questions do you ask yourself? The first question is, who's my audience? What matters to them? You're going to ask yourself, what do they need to get from this presentation? And not necessarily what do you want to give, but what do they need to get? In other words, you may want to give the whole story, weeds and all, but what do they need to get in this time frame? Maybe they need to get the 30,000 foot overview. So you ask yourself, who's my audience? What matters to them? What do they need to get from this? And then what's your ultimate goal? What do you want them to do with this information once they have it? Are you talking to the board and you want them to sign off on you spending this level of money for something that's going to improve the company? Are you talking to your online group of people because you're an influencer and you want them to buy this course if it's the right thing for them? Be real clear in your mind what you're wanting to accomplish. And then the last question you ask yourself is, how much time do I have? The person we were working with recently talked really, really fast, and that was his effort at trying to condense 18 minutes into 5. And one of the things I shared with him, and I will share with you, is that you will never cram more information successfully into a presentation than time you have available by talking really, really fast. It may seem like a good idea, but what comes across is a very rushed persona that people don't feel is relaxing while they're listening to you. One of the things that makes presentations really excellent is pausing after you say something impactful and letting it soak in for people. Often it's hard to just not talk for 3 or 4 seconds, but it's very effective. People need to catch up with what you just said so they're ready to hear the next thing. Okay, so that's my first draft on how to make an effective presentation. By the way, I'm in Barbie pink today because I've been celebrating Barbie weekend all weekend. I did go to see the movie on Friday. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think I'll go back and see it again. There was so much attention to detail and so many pink things and Barbie things that were recreated so beautifully that I want to go back and enjoy that again. I have 4 granddaughters who all play with Barbies, so I'm quite familiar with them, and I had so much fun watching the movie. Have a wonderful day. Please know that I have a coaching package, and all you have to do is email me at terry@ammermantraining.com, and I'll send you the information on it. Also, if you haven't subscribed below, please subscribe. I would love to have you in the community, and do not hesitate to put questions or comments in your comment section, anything that you think you might like me to address in future videos. Have a great evening. Goodbye.